going to the study of asymptotes, we should have some basic idea about the slope of the line. Therefore, we need to study about the slope of the line. Suppose we have a coordinate plane. There is a x-axis and y-axis. Coordinate plane is there. We can say there are four quadrant: first, second, third, fourth quadrant. If you take a line on a quadrant plane, which may be two cases, which may be a parallel to the x-axis, may not be a parallel to the x-axis. If it is not parallel to the x-axis, definitely it makes an angle with the x-axis. Once it makes an angle with the x-axis, there are two angles you can get. One is either a positive side and another is negative side. These two angles are supplementary, means they are some of those two angles are 180 degree. Okay, the angle made by the that line with the positive direction of x-axis in a measured in anti-clockwise direction means that is called inclination of that line. Suppose I can say that we have a coordinate plane system. If you draw a line here which makes an angle with the x-axis, two sides are there. One is on positive side and another one is negative side. There are supplementary. There some of one angles is 180 degree, and the whatever the angle makes with the positive direction if you measure in that in anti-clockwise direction, that is called inclination of that line, we can call that. Okay, this is the meaning of that. Now if suppose the line is parallel to the x-axis, what happens? The inclination is called zero. Inclination of that line is zero, because whatever the line which makes an with an x-axis is zero here. And if the inclination of the vertical line is 90 degree, because the y-axis, or I can say that the line I can say that parallel to the y-axis, they will make angle 90 degree with the positive direction of x-axis. Therefore, their inclination is 90 degree. Then if the theta is the inclination of the line, that line, and tan theta is called slope of the line. If you know if you understand what is the inclination of the line, and if you take tan of that inclination, is called slope of the line. What actually it represent? It represent the rate of change of dependent variable per unit change in the independent variable. You will going to give tan theta, because tan theta is opposite divided by adjacent, means opposite is how much change in the y direction value, and in the adjacent means the change in the x direction. Means if you divide that ratio, what we can get the rate of change of independent variable per unit change in the. Okay, that's why tan theta will give, I can say that always will give the rate of change of dependent variable per unit change in it. Now whatever the inclination of that line, if suppose inclination of the line is 90 degree, in that case the slope of the line is not defined. Why? Because a tan of 90 degree is not defined here. Means once tan of 90 degree is not defined, you cannot see the rate of change. Therefore, is tan theta is not defined, means the slope itself is not defined whenever the inclination of that line is 90 degree. Similarly, the slope of x-axis is 0, because makes an angle with x-axis is 0, and tan 0 is 0 here, and means tan 0 is represent 0, means what? The slope is 0. Again, the slope of the y-axis is not defined because tan 90 is not defined. Now whatever this, I can say that if some what we want to say is that if I want to find out the slope of the line, what we can do, we can find out what angle makes with a positive direction of x-axis. And if you measure the angle in anti-clockwise direction, then if you find out the tan theta, that will give the slope of the tan. This is the procedure. Simply, if someone asks to find out slope of that line, you first understand what the angle that line makes mm, with the positive direction of x-axis in anti-clockwise, and find it, and tan if of that angle is nothing but the slope of the. Okay. Now keep in mind, the very important thing is the two questions comes in our mind. Why we should take always from the positive direction of the axis? This is by universal convention. We should take from the positive direction of the axis. All the mathematicians and scientists universally accepted not to measure a slope of the line. We should take the angle from the positive direction of the x-axis. One thing is very clear. Now, the slope is one more thing is constant throughout the straight line. If you take any 2 points on the line, if you find it's the ratio remains same. Whatever if you that's why I can say that if they given 2 points and if you work out y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, if you get this whatever the ratio at different points we can get this the ratio is same. Therefore, now it will going to help what in what way it will going to help? It will going to help if they on a line, if the 2 points are given, it is very easy to find out its slope. Therefore, slope is constant. But in case of curve, the slope is different at different point. If you find out the slope at one point is different from the other point, but in case of straight line, the slope is constant. That's why. That is the reason why if in the line if 2 points are given, it is sufficient to find out its slope. Okay, that's why. Okay, this is very important concept. Keep in mind. Okay, thank you.